Devin is making waves. Devin AI released its after Cursor AI is growing in its centrality to workflows, to a developer workflow. And Devin, to me, points to the speed at which tools are going to change in this era, but is got a new version out that I think can take on more complex tasks. How do you think about the shift in tools? How do you think about, maybe have you played with Cursor? Did you go beyond the demos of Devin AI to actually see if you could integrate it into your workflow? Because these are things that are coming, but also not perhaps as they first appeared, in a way that might feel more threatening to an engineer's role, but instead as perhaps something else. How do you think about those tools?
It's important to split this up between using AI for building as engineers and when we're using AI for learning as teachers, as students. Because I think that the use cases are obviously different between the two of them, but so are the potential pitfalls. And so maybe I'll just stick with teaching and learning using AI for just a second. Um, I definitely use LLM coding assistants as part of my daily workflow. I use ChatGPT and Claude as part of my workflow when I'm building out curriculum for students. And I think that the benefits are obvious. They are incredible tools that are really, really valuable to the people who are using them. I think that that comes back to what the question of what are LLMs good at and what are they not so good at. As a teacher, the things that they are really, really good at are parsing 10,000 pages of dense documentation so that I don't spend all of my time reading through the documentation
Yeah.
for a node, famously terrible, and can spend more time thinking critically about how to apply that information, how to translate it. But the thing that I am personally worried about as far as students coming into this space for the first time is that, for example, you and I, as experienced engineers who have been doing this in one way or another for a while, we have a we have a gut check available to us when we look at a new piece of information, when we look at a new piece of code, especially if it's a piece of code that's been written by an LLM. And we're able to really employ that trust but verify mentality, where I can ask Claude to code me something, and then, but I am not going to just copy and paste that into my
Right.
code base. I'm able to think critically, look through that, see where the LLM has gotten distracted. And that gut check is not available to students who are just coming to this for the first time. If you don't have the context necessary to be able
Yeah.
to judge something, it's very easy to take a look at this information that an AI has provided to you and think, well, doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess that's the way it is. Regardless of whether or not that information, whether or not that code is as valuable as you might think. And so I think that I see my role as an instructor as doing everything that I can to provide those instincts to my students, to give them the context so that when they are using these tools, either in a space that they are very familiar with, or if they're using a tool to learn a new language, if they let's say that they know how to write something in JavaScript, but they want to see like what this would look like in Go, for example. My hope is that my students will be able to have that context, have those instincts to be able to critically evaluate that beautiful piece of Go code that Claude has provided to them and see whether or not it's actually useful.
We're talking about comparing two languages. That's so valuable because it's identifying the commonalities, is therefore identifying stuff that's maybe intrinsic to a programming language versus identifying the differences, therefore identifying stuff that is maybe trying to solve the same problem in a different way. It's starting to build that fabric of knowledge.
And for beginner students, it comes down to the simplest possible questions that you could ask of a particular piece of code. I want to be able to give them the context to think, okay, is there a pattern that I can spot here that I'm familiar with in another space that might still be applicable here? What is the efficiency of this piece of code? Um, is the LLM trying to import too many packages that don't actually do anything? All of these basic questions that you and I know to intrinsically look for whenever we're evaluating a new piece of code. It's important that we teach our students that as well. I will say this as a self-avowed AI skeptic. I mentioned to you that I do use LLMs in my day-to-day workflow, but I brought myself to that kicking and screaming. I have been a little skeptical of introducing AI into the space for a little while, mostly because the downsides are so obvious. The risk of introducing hallucinations into our code base, the risk of just blindly integrating a particular tool or blindly approving a PR that an AI has made without really taking a look at it. It's tempting to be able to step back and just let the AI do it. And that is a really easy way for your code to get really bad really quickly, to just let the AI make all of the decisions. And so that's my hot take with the technology as it is right now. It's really good at some things, but it's really bad at creating something new. For example, you mentioned Devin. Um, I have not paid the $500 a month to use Devin myself right now, but it has the same downsides as so many other tools in the space. And those downsides are that it is very good at writing code in a particular space where a lot of code has already been written. For example, if you want to use Devin to create a basic component in React, it'll probably do that for you. But if you want it to do anything new, if you want to write a component in a newer framework that may be more efficient, more applicable to your use case, the
Hmm.
usefulness of Devin is going to plummet really, really quickly. And God forbid if you want to actually come up with anything truly novel in this
Right.
space, something that no one has ever done before, this usefulness of this tool is going to quickly drop to zero. Anyone who is trying to convince you otherwise that you're going to be able to fully integrate this into your workflow without making any decision whatsoever and without any downsides is selling you something or they're trying to sell you. And so it's the hype is strong and the benefits are there, but the software engineers are not going extinct anytime soon.
What is exciting is the feeling, though, that there is possibility of new things that can be built as a result of, I would say, prediction or nuance in software, which is what this does speak to. And I love that. I think that's really exciting. And I also would just say humans do always seek out hard stuff. I don't know why we have, I think, an instinctive desire, all while we love shortcuts. And I feel like AI speaks to that very tension. On the one hand, we're like, oh my God, maybe this could finally magic me into my 4 hour work week. And at the same time, we will just use that same freed up time. We do look for hard stuff to do. And the beautiful thing is, if some of the bits that were hard become easier, then watch how we move to therefore work on other hard stuff. But now it can be at an even more impactful uh, types of problems.
My use of these tools as an engineer is very much based in that trade-off where I want the tools to abstract away some of the hard work, some of the decision making, but I don't want to allow myself to let it abstract away the actual decisions of what should be integrated, how we should solve a particular problem. And it's really tempting to just sit back and let the tool do everything. And so holding that at bay, I think, maybe will become our job as software engineers. Allowing ourselves to care just enough to not be lazy with it.